So let's talk about Avatar The Last Airbender, the live action series streaming on Netflix. Now, I know what most people were worried about was how much of the books and the season one of the animated show was adapted, because I mean, we got that disastrous movie. And I'm happy to tell you that at least 70% of it was adapted. That's the animated show and, the book, which was actually great. The cast were really good. And I dare say that you're going to feel the same connection you felt watching the animated show or reading the books. That's the same thing you're going to feel with this live action as well. So that was really well done. Zuko and Arrow, as expected, were to me the standout cast. They had that connection, that uncle-nephew connection, and they really brought it to screen very well. I really loved how Uncle Arrow's pacifism was clashing with Zuko's. Should I listen to my uncle sometimes? Should I not listen to my uncle sometimes? No, I have to do my own thing. I have to be my man, while they're having this push-pull relationship that would ultimately lead to Zuko's redemption arc, which I really can't wait to see, because from what I've seen so far, I know that redemption arc is going to hit just as much as it hit in the animation. So the live action made some things better, and it actually helped to give more depth to the story in some way. So for instance, the crew that Zuko had that were chasing the avatar with him in the ship, in the animated show, we never got to understand, yeah, why these people, like, were they just punished just because, and they've been roaming, the earth for like years looking for the avatar. But we got that in this live action, and we got some closure as well. You could also tell that the series was really moving with the times, and I guess that's why the original creators actually left the Netflix production, because some adaptation did not make sense. However, like I said, it was a near faithful adaptation, and I really love that about it. Now, while it was a near faithful adaptation, it did a good job of connecting as much of the story as it could into season one, because I mean, the book and the animated series had a lot chalked into it. The season one especially had a lot chalked into it, and it did a good job of adapting as much of season one of the animated TV show as possible, and it did not let you lose the connection it had in between. So it kept the integral part of the story, but it pulled some creative differences and creative licenses here, and which again is why I'm suspecting those are the reasons why, I mean, the original creators of Avatar left, the production, and said, nah, this is becoming too much. But to be honest, I really did enjoy it. Now for the bad, while it adapted as much of it as possible, and to be honest, the connections it made, like I said, were really good. I feel there were some things that could actually have stayed true to the books, which we did not get here. For instance, Code the Spirit that Still Faces, his arc in this live action wasn't as great, wasn't as impactful. In fact, to be honest, when Cole and Ang met for the first time, the first question that came to my mind was, why is Cole not stealing Ang's face? Because the facial expressions were just hitting. Like, Ang was all the possible facial expressions, and I was like, why? I mean, isn't that what Cole is all about? There was that disconnect. Also, the portrayal of Bumi wasn't as good as it should have been. There was he's sort of a mad king kind of thing, which, yeah, I mean, you in the animated shows, you could tell that, yeah, like, he has this bit of madness in him, but in this one he was like a mad king, which I don't get it. And there was this agitation towards Ang, which was never really what Bumi was all about. It was just weird. It almost felt like Bumi was really blaming Ang for everything that happened, and they were both children together. So, and that was one of the things the animated show actually did better, because it made you connect Bumi and Ang's friendship a lot more. So while every other person was saying, oh, the avatar this, the avatar that, Bumi wasn't like that. He was all about, yeah, I mean, you're still my friend at the core of it, and that's what really matters. But here, it took a sort of slightly different turn. Now, I do not blame them entirely for that, because the overall tone of the live action was a bit darker than what we got in the animated show and in the books. This felt more serious, more real, more, yeah, lives are at stake, people are dying, shit is really going down, and they did their best to show as much of it as possible. So it was understandable why people like why Boomy might have been that way, why Sokka wasn't really the comic relief that he was in the animated show. Another thing that did not make sense was in this whole season, Aang did not learn a whiff of water bending, and I had to really think back to the animated show, like in season one. Like, I mean, wasn't Aang still learning the basics with Katara at that point? But in this show, he did not get or learn a single whiff of water bending, and I found that really weird. Because so, what was the point of going to the north? What was the point of doing all of that just to get there, and you still are not learning water bending at all? So it feels like getting into season two, Aang would either be learning water bending from scratch, or they will do a time skip, and then it shows that, oh yeah, Katara and Aang, Katara has taught Aang a bit now, and Aang is at least good enough in water bending. I found weird. I mean, even if it's the bits and pieces of water, like Aang should have started doing that by now. Some characters were also not introduced, which it pained me. I was hoping to see Zhong Zhong. We did not see him. I was really looking forward to seeing his interaction with Zhao, which did not happen. But to be honest, the cast really delivered. Like they really did deliver. Zhao was Zhao, Iroh was Iroh, Zuko was Zuko, Katara was Katara, Aang was Aang, Sokka was Sokka to a huge extent. Fire Lord Ozai was Fire Lord Ozai. Azula was Azula at some point in time. It felt like there was this dip of Oza is trying to test her. Oza is not trying to test her. Is she a prodigy? Is she not a prodigy? Yeah, she's a prodigy, but there was a whole lot of things going on with Azula that the end actually now let us know, okay, yeah, she's really great. And then from season 2, we'll start seeing who she is. Really, really enjoyed the cast portrayal. The depth of the story was really good. The plot progression for most characters were good. For Aang, not so much. It felt more like he was still a crybaby. All of this is happening because of me. It's happening because of me. It's happening because of me. Okay, learn what you need to learn. Oh no, I'm not learning it. I'm running away. He just felt like he kept running away all through the series. Okay, he was segued into doing other side missions while not learning the things that he also really needed to learn as the Avatar. So compared to what we got in the animated show, we did not get as much of him doing that. So learning bending, learning what it really means to be the Avatar. We did not really get to see that here. The Avatar states really awesome. I loved seeing Kyoshi. Kyoshi, you can get me pregnant anytime. I love seeing Kyoshi. Love seeing Roku. Purok was still. I mean, there was more to his character in this one, which I'm hoping they explore more in later seasons or they explore later on. But I love that as well. And while the fight scenes were good, I felt like at some point they were repetitive. So they were just doing, felt like the characters were doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like you could tell 2 out of 4 moves, Zuko is going to do some particular thing. 2 out of 3 moves, Katara is going to do one thing. 2 out of 3 moves, Ang is going to do one thing. It felt really too repetitive and I found that really weird. I'm hoping in season 2 we get to see a lot more because one of the things that made the animated shows come to life was the fact that with bending you can do a whole lot. You can do really, really crazy things that just wows you. And I was really hoping to see the elemental portrayal of all these things in live action. It wasn't bad, it was good, but it just felt repetitive. And I'm hoping we get to see a lot more moves and a lot more things in season 2 and in further seasons. Overall, honestly, I'm going to give it a B minus. It was not a bad portrayal. It was not a bad adaptation. In fact, I would say if you watched the animated series and you watched M. Night's version, that movie, yeah, like you could watch this. This is more like a bridge or a middle ground between both. But I'll say it's even tilting more towards the animated version because that M. Night movie was really a disaster. Um, Sad to say, but yeah, that's what it is. Watch it. Contrary to what you're saying online, it was not a bad adaptation. It was actually good. If you have not watched any of the Avatar shows or you have not read any of the books, if you watch this, you are more likely to actually pick it up and watch what that is about or read the book and all of that. It's not going to make you angry. And if you watched any of them or you read the book, you're not going to be angry. At least you are going to enjoy 80% of it, which is actually a good mark in my opinion. I mean, unless I'm missing something wrong. So yeah, like check it out. Enjoyed it. I'm giving it a B minus. And I think you would enjoy it too. If you watched it, let me know what you think in the comment section. And if you're new to Cinema Shed, like, follow, subscribe. It's actually easier to do that. It's easier to follow and it's easier to subscribe than it is for soccer to land a girl. Till next time, I remain Miwan from Cinema Shed as usual. And I'll catch you later. Peace.